Hi, and welcome to our YouTube channel. This is How to Unlock Spanish, and my name is Iciar. Today we are going to revise tenses. We are going to use the verb hablar to learn the regular are verbs. And we are going to see all the tenses and when to use them. So don't miss this video, and please subscribe to our channel and click me gusta if you want more videos like this to be uploaded. I want to share with you this template, which is very useful to revise your tenses, as well as to have it as a cheating sheet if you just fill it in and you need to check the tenses. As you can see, it's very well organized in present, past, and future. And also in green ink, you can see when we have to use each tense, and also a page number. This page number is the page in the Viva book that you can see recommended here on the right of the screen. This Viva book is a very good book to have all the tenses explained in 2 pages each tense, and it's like having a dictionary, like handy index of tenses. And also at the end of the book you have very good translations and tips for translations. But the grammar is really good, and you can just buy the book for a really affordable price in Amazon. So I will leave the link below the video. I just think this book and this template is very useful. The template you can download on our website for free. I will also leave the link on the description below the video. And in order to learn every tense, I mean the tenses you haven't learned yet, or just to check them in depth, you can go to our website, and I also leave here the link. This video is a revision of all the tenses all together, but you have step-by-step videos about what is to conjugate a verb, why do we conjugate verbs, and the types of verbs we have. So just look in our YouTube channel and just keep watching videos in case you are a beginner. Let's dive in and revise tense by tense. The present. We have 2 tenses in the present. We have the present simple, the one we use for what we usually do. I usually speak, or I speak with my mom every week. And the presente continuo, or the progressive present, which is I am talking, estoy hablando. We use this one when the action is in progress. So to conjugate the present, the yo is always with o for are, ir verbs, but the rest of the endings, you can see they all start with an a, which is easier to remember. Yo hablo, tú hablas, él habla, nosotros hablamos, vosotros habláis, ellos hablan. Presente continuo. The action is in progress, as we said. So we are going to say I am talking, you are talking, he is talking. So we have to conjugate estar in the present tense. Estoy, estás, está, estamos, estáis, están. And hablar, we just remove the infinitive ending ar and we add ando. So we say estoy hablando, estás hablando, está hablando, estamos hablando, estáis hablando, están hablando. Now we can see the 5 past tenses all together on one screen, which I think is useful. And we are going to start talking about the first one. Pretérito indefinido, also called pretérito perfecto simple. Well, it's the one we use for one-off actions, like an action that is just a one-off. It's not repetitive, it's not continuous, it's just a one-off. Like yesterday I talked to my mom. Ayer hablé con mi madre. It's ayer, yesterday. Yes, I'm talking about that one time. And we also use the pretérito indefinido when we have many actions and one has finished before we start the next one, before we start the following one, before we start this following one. So it's like, for example, yesterday I went to the office, then I had lunch, and then I went out with my friends. I would use preterites all the time. The conjugation is hablé, hablaste, habló, Hablamos, hablasteis, hablaron. The second one is the imperfect. The imperfect is easy to remember because you just have to add AB after you remove AR. So you remove AR, which is the infinitive ending, you add AB, and then from tú to ellos, can you see like you have the as, a, amos, ais, an, which is the ending of the are verbs in the present tense. So the endings are going to be hablaba, hablabas, hablaba, hablábamos, hablabais, hablaban. So yes, yo and él, ella, usted have the same form for the imperfect. And when do we use the imperfect? We use imperfect when we are describing something in the past, when we are talking about a repetitive action in the past, like I used to talk to my mom every Friday, and when we talk about what we were doing when something else happened. For example, I was talking like yo hablaba con mi madre when he arrived, cuando él llegó. So the I was talking would be hablaba, and then when he arrived will be cuando él llegó, would be preterite. Now we are going to talk about the presente perfecto, which is a past that hasn't ended yet, and it's very easy to conjugate because we are always going to use as the first part your tú has, él ha, nosotros hemos, vosotros habéis, ellos han. For any verb, we are going to use has, ha, hemos, habéis, han. It's like in English you say, I have talked, you have talked, he has talked. And then the second part for AR verbs is removed. You just need to remove the AR and add ado. So it's yo he hablado, tú has hablado, él ha hablado, hemos hablado, habéis hablado, y han hablado. We are going to use the perfect tense when we say something like, have you ever talked to your mom? So es, ¿has hablado alguna vez con tu madre? So es, if you have ever, or I've always, or I have never. With those expressions, you always use the perfect tense. So it's a safe way to use it. The fourth past tense is a pluperfect. The pluperfect in English would be had talked. So we use this past when we are talking about something in the past, and then we talk about a moment which is even previous to that. So for example, yesterday I talked to Maria. I had never talked to her before. Ayer hablé con María. Nunca había hablado con María antes. So we use it to refer to a moment in the past that is even previous to the one we were talking about. And it's very easy to conjugate because we just have to conjugate haber in the imperfect. Haber is an ER verb, so instead of haba, we have to use ia. So it's había, habías, había, habíamos, habíais, habían. And then we use the second part is the participio pasado, which is removing AR and adding ado. Hablado, 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 right? Like in the perfect tense. And now let's talk about the pasado continuo or the progressive past, which is very similar to the present continuous, as you can see. In the present continuous, we said estoy hablando, which is I am talking. Estaba hablando is I was talking. So instead of estar in the present, we just use the estar in the imperfect. So estaba, estabas, estaba, estábamos, estabais, estaban. And then the ing in English, in Spanish, we use ando. So we just remove ar and add ando. So estaba hablando, estabas hablando, would be I was talking, you were talking, and so on. This I was talking is really a use that we could use for the form of the imperfect. So I was talking, I can say hablaba, because it's one of the three uses of the imperfect, or I can say estaba hablando. Both are right, and both mean I was talking. Let's talk about the future. So for the future, we have 5 different tenses. Let's focus on the first 3, which are voy a hablar, hablaré, o hablaría. So they all keep the infinitive. You don't remove AR from the future, the immediate future, or the conditional. So if you want to say, I am going to talk, it's as easy as saying voy a plus infinitive. So you just have to conjugate ir in the present tense, add a, and add the infinitive. Voy a hablar, vas a hablar, va a hablar, vamos a hablar, vais a hablar, van a hablar. So I'm going to talk. The simple future is very easy because it has only one set of endings for AR, ER, and IR verbs, as well as the conditional, as well as the futuro inmediato. So we just have to add the ending to the infinitive without removing AR. So hablaré, hablarás, hablará, hablaremos, hablaréis, hablarán. One easy way to remember is that you have 3 E's and 3 A's. See? And then we have the conditional, which is that I would talk. So instead of would, you just add ia at the end of the infinitive. And it's hablaría, hablarías, hablaría, hablaríamos, hablaríais, hablarían. It's the same for AR, ER, and IR verbs. And if you pay attention to it, you could see that the endings are the same as the imperfect endings for ER and IR verbs. But the difference is that here we don't remove the ending from the infinitive. In the futuro simple, you see hablaré, right? What's the difference between hablaré and hablé? So hablaré keeps AR and it means I will talk. And hablé removes AR and it's a preterite. And it's saying I talked. So E is the same ending for AR verbs for the preterite, the past tense, and the future simple. The only difference is that you remove or don't remove the ending. The fourth tense, the futuro perfecto, I just have to do the future to form the future for haber. So habré, habrás, habrá, habremos, habréis, habrán, and then add the past participle. So instead of he hablado, which would be the perfect tense, he hablado, which was a past tense that we saw before, instead of he, I'm going to use habré. And it's habré because haber is irregular. Instead of haberé, it's habré. For the condicional perfecto, perfect conditional, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do the conditional of haber. Habría, habrías, habría, habríamos, habrías, habríais, habrían, and then add the past participle. So, habré hablado in English is going to be I will have talked, and habría hablado is going to be I would have talked. We've already gone over all the tenses in the indicativo. In Spanish, we have 3 moods, which are indicativo, the subjuntivo, and imperativo. The indicativo is all the tenses we've seen till now. And now we are going to start with the subjuntivo and imperativo. On our website, you can check this page. This is like a photo, it's a shot from the website where you see all the tenses and an example of the first person, the first form of every tense. And if you click, you will study in depth the tense and see the main irregulars and so on. If you go to imperativo and subjuntivo, you will see when to use it and also an explanation of why the subjuntivo is different than the indicativo. So please don't miss it. And now we will move forward just to the subjuntivo and imperativo, how to conjugate it, like the forms, which is what this video is about. So, if we focus on the subjuntivo presente, we can see that hables, hable, hablemos, habléis, hablen is using the endings of the er verbs instead of the are verbs. So we have to switch the endings and just use es instead of as. So instead of hablas is hables. Instead of habla is hable. So I think it's better to learn this tense when we are really strong in the indicativo. Then the first person, which in the present is of the indicativo, is hablo. This yo person will be hable, which is the same as in the he person. So it's hable, hables, hable, hablemos, habléis, hablen. Then we can see the past subjunctive. And the past subjunctive is easy to form and to avoid learning a lot of irregulars if you just get to the ellos of the preterite tense with hablar, hablar would be hablaron, then you remove ron, R-O-N, and then you add the endings of the subjuntivo imperfecto. So it would be hablaron, I take away ron, and I say hablara. Why do I have hablara and hablase? Because I have two options for the subjuntivo imperfecto. I can use either hablara or hablase. Both are correct. As we said, we have three moods: the indicativo, the subjunctive, subjuntivo, and the imperativo. The imperativo is used to give orders, give instructions, and give recommendations. So for the imperativo, most of the forms of the imperativo are going to be the subjunctive because, you know, we use the subjunctive to also give orders, to say, I want you to do this, or I want you to do that. So we are going to use the subjunctive for the imperativo afirmativo when we say someone to do something, and to tell someone not to do something, the negatives. So the negatives are all subjunctive, but in the affirmativo, the you singular and you plural have different forms, have specific ones. For example, for the you singular, we have habla, right? It's because we have to get the you present, hablas, and remove the s. And that's how we get the you imperativo. So the you imperativo singular is not going to use the subjunctive. It's going to be the you present without the s. And the vosotros, which is the you plural, is not going to use the subjunctive either for the affirmativo. For the positive orders like do this, it's going to be using the d at the end. So we get the infinitive form, we remove the r, and we just add d. So it's hablad for AR verbs. So don't forget to download the template for the verbs and also subscribe to this channel. And when you go to the website to download it, please subscribe to the website to support us. Also, remember you can buy this book if you want to do more exercises in every tense. It's very affordable, and then you can check the pages where every tense is allocated in the book in the page numbers that you can see written in green. Remember you can go to our website and learn every tense in depth and all the main irregulars that you really should know. And then you also have a video with comer, which is similar to this one. So if you learn hablar, this video, and then you learn the comer video, because comer verbs have different endings, then vivir is very easy. So IR verbs are the same as ER verbs. The only difference is the nosotros and vosotros form of the present tense. So when we say comemos, we use hemos. We say vivimos, which is imos ending. And when we say vosotros coméis, we say vosotros vivís. Those two endings are different, but all the rest will be the same. Like, for example, he vivido and he comido. We will be using as well ido. So I encourage you to learn these two videos, and you also have beginners videos for knowing what is to conjugate, knowing what's the difference between the different types of verbs, and also every step 1, step 2, step 3, like a step-by-step video about the present tense, where you can see conjugation step by step. And then we have a video about the preterite and imperfect, explaining when to use them, which is one of the trickiest things, like when to use preterito or when to use imperfect. So I hope like having all the tenses together helps you revise them and learn them, and just keep subscribing to our website and watching our videos. Thank you very much for being there.